The moment the roster dropped, everything changed. Not just for the players, not just for the fans, for the entire conversation around women's basketball. Because this wasn't just another announcement from USA Basketball. This was a statement. And within seconds, the internet exploded. Some fans celebrated. Others were confused. And a large group, they were furious. Because while names like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Kelsey Plum made the final cut, this roster isn't as simple as star power. Not even close. Behind every name is a decision. And behind every decision, a controversy. A proven veteran who delivered every single time? Gone. A rookie that most people didn't even expect to be in the conversation? Suddenly standing on the biggest stage in the world. This isn't just a team. It's a gamble. And the question nobody can ignore is this. Did the selection committee just build an unstoppable machine, or did they make the biggest mistake of 2026? Because when you really start breaking it down, this roster tells a story that gets more intense with every single name. Start with the guards. This is where everything begins. This is where games are controlled, where tempo is dictated, where pressure either builds or breaks. And at the center of it all is Caitlin Clark. By now, the name isn't just familiar. It's everywhere. But this moment, this is different. Because for all the records, all the headlines, all the history she's already made, this is her first time wearing the senior national team jersey. Let that sink in. The player who rewrote scoring history. The player who became a cultural phenomenon. The player defenses are terrified at the moment she crosses half court. Has never played on this stage before. Until now. And that changes everything. Clark doesn't just play the game. She bends it. Her vision is something you can't teach. She sees passes before they exist. She forces defenses into impossible decisions. Step up too early? She blows past you. Stay back too long? She pulls up from a range that shouldn't even be normal. And in transition, it's chaos. Because once she gets moving, there is no right defensive choice. Only damage control. Right next to her is Kelsey Plum. And if Clark is the headline, Plum is the fire that never stops burning. This isn't new territory for her. This is her environment. She's been here before. She's won on this stage. She understands what it takes when the pressure isn't just high, it's suffocating. Plum doesn't wait for momentum. She creates it. A quick burst. A couple of possessions. And suddenly the entire game flips. That's the kind of player she is. Then there's Chelsea Gray. Ask anyone in the game one simple question. Who do you not want controlling the ball in the final seconds? Her name comes up immediately. They call her the point god for a reason. Because when the game slows down, when everything gets tight, when every possession feels like it could decide everything, she doesn't panic. She calculates. Her control, her patience, her ability to read pressure and turn it into opportunity, it's on a different level. And then comes the new wave. Paige Bucher steps in as another first-time addition, carrying expectations that would overwhelm most players. But she doesn't play like someone trying to prove herself. She plays like someone who already belongs. Efficient, smooth, ruthless when she needs to be. She doesn't force shots. She takes them when they matter. And that's what makes her dangerous. This guard group isn't just deep. It's unpredictable. You've got length with players like Ryan Howard, physical dominance from Jackie Young, and versatility from rising talents who can defend multiple positions without hesitation. 8 guards. 8 different styles. But only a few will truly control how this team plays when it matters most. And that's where the pressure starts to build. Because once you move into the front court, things get even more intense. Angel Reese doesn't just play basketball. She battles. Every rebound is a fight. Every possession is personal. She doesn't back down. She doesn't slow down. And she definitely doesn't forget. Opponents feel her presence long before they see it on the stat sheet. And that's exactly why she's here. Then there's experience. Real, tested, high-pressure experience. Players who have already delivered when everything was on the line. Players like Kalia Copper, who has already proven she can take over in the biggest moments imaginable. When others hesitate, she attacks. When the game tightens, she takes control. And then there are the surprises. The names that made fans stop, rewind, and ask, wait, how did she make it? But that's the thing about this roster. It wasn't built for comfort. It was built for flexibility.
For speed.
For switching. For chaos. And that brings us to the most controversial decision of all. One center. Just one. Aaliyah Boston. No backup safety net. No rotation cushion. Everything at that position rests on her. Every rebound battle. Every defensive anchor moment. Every time an opponent tries to exploit the paint, it's on her. That's not just pressure. That's a target. Because every opposing team sees it. They know exactly where to attack. They know exactly how to test this roster. And they will. Over and over again. But Boston isn't just another player. She's disciplined. She's composed. She understands positioning in a way that doesn't show up in highlights, but wins games behind the scenes. She doesn't react late. She anticipates early. And at this level, that difference matters. Still one center. That decision alone has fans divided. Because for every player who made it, someone else didn't. And that's where things turn uncomfortable. Because some of the names left off this roster aren't just good players. They're elite. Players who have proven themselves. Players who have delivered. Players who many believed were guaranteed to be here. And yet they're not. That's what makes this announcement feel different. It's not just about who made the team. It's about who didn't. And what that says about the direction of this program. Because when you step back and look at the full picture, one thing becomes clear. This roster wasn't built to be safe. It was built to take risks. And now the entire world is watching to see if those risks pay off. Will this group dominate the international stage like Team USA has done so many times before? Or will these controversial decisions come back at the worst possible moment? Because in tournaments like this, there are no second chances, only results. And very soon we're going to find out the truth. And then there's the name that refuses to go away. The one that keeps showing up in every debate, every comment section, every heated argument online. Brittany Griner, 7th in the entire league in blocks.
7th.
And she did it while playing limited minutes. Think about that for a second. Limited minutes, and still one of the most dominant rim protectors in the entire league. That's not normal. That's not just solid production. That's impact. Real, undeniable, game-changing impact. And yet, she's not on this roster. This isn't just a quiet omission. This is the decision that split the entire basketball world in half. Because for a lot of fans, this isn't just questionable. It's unforgivable. How do you leave off a player who can completely alter the way opponents attack the paint? How do you ignore a defensive presence that forces entire teams to rethink their strategy? The committee made their call. But this is the one decision that people are not ready to let go of. And maybe they shouldn't. Because when you step back and look at this roster on paper, it looks perfect. Almost too perfect. Guard depth that most countries can't even dream of matching. A frontcourt built for speed, rebounding, and relentless pressure. A mix of veterans who understand exactly what it takes to win, and newcomers who are playing with something to prove. It checks every box. Every single one. But here's the truth nobody wants to admit. Paper doesn't win championships. Talent doesn't guarantee gold. And potential means absolutely nothing when you're deep into a semifinal. The crowd is loud, the pressure is suffocating, and the entire game comes down to one possession. That's where everything changes. Because at that moment, it's no longer about names. It's about chemistry. And this is where things get complicated. This team isn't just talented. It's loaded with alpha personalities. Caitlin Clark wants the ball when the game is on the line. So does Kelsey Plum. So does Chelsea Gray. So does Kalia Copper. So does Angel Reese. And here's the thing. They're all right. Every single one of them has earned that trust. Every single one of them has delivered in big moments before. But basketball doesn't work like that. Not in a 40-minute game. Not at this level. Because when everything slows down and the pressure hits its peak, only one player can take that shot. Only one player can control that possession. And deciding who that is? That's where the real challenge begins. The coaching staff isn't just managing rotations. They're managing egos, expectations, moments. And those decisions won't just affect the game. They could define the entire tournament. Then there's the international factor. Because this isn't the WNBA. This is a completely different environment. Different officiating. More physical play. Less space. More contact. Fewer easy calls. And a pace that punishes teams that rely too heavily on individual brilliance. At the World Cup level, the teams that win aren't always the most talented. They're the most connected, the most disciplined, the most willing to sacrifice individual moments for team success. That's the real test. And it's a test that even the most talented rosters can fail. The veterans on this team understand that. Players like Chelsea Gray, Kelsey Plum, Kalia Copper, and Jackie Young have already lived it. They know what it feels like when the margin for error disappears. They know what it takes to win when talent alone isn't enough. And their role goes far beyond scoring points. They have to set the tone. They have to build the culture. They have to make sure this team becomes more than just a collection of stars. Because if that doesn't happen, none of this works. For Caitlin Clark, this might be the most important moment of her career so far. Not because of the spotlight.
She's already used to that.
But because this is unfamiliar territory. New defenses. More physical pressure. Less space to operate. And opponents who have spent months studying every single move she makes. The way she adjusts early in this tournament, it's going to set the tone for everything that follows. And then there's Angel Reese. You won't always see her impact in the numbers, but you will feel it. Every rebound she fights for. Every loose ball she refuses to give up on. Every possession she turns into a battle. That energy spreads. It becomes contagious. And in games where effort decides outcomes, that matters more than anything. But looming over all of this is one decision that could define everything. One center. Just one. Aaliyah Boston. No backup. No safety net. No margin for error. If she gets into foul trouble in a critical game, everything changes instantly. The entire defensive structure collapses. The coaching staff is forced to improvise. And opponents? They will attack that weakness relentlessly, over and over again. Because at this level, teams don't just notice weaknesses. They exploit them. The committee knew this. They understood the risk. And they still made the decision. That tells you everything about how much they trust Boston. But it also tells you something else. This roster was built on belief, not certainty. And belief can be powerful, but it can also be dangerous. Because now, everything is in place. The talent, the experience, the hunger, the expectations, all of it. But there's only one question that actually matters. When the moment comes, will this group play like a team? Or will the cracks start to show? Because at this level, you don't get second chances. You don't get time to figure it out later. You either come together, or you fall apart. This is Team USA's World Cup roster. 12 players. 1 goal. No excuses. And now, the world is watching.
So, what do you think?
Did USA basketball get this right? Or did they leave out the one player who could have changed everything? Who would you take out? And who deserves that spot instead? Drop your answers below. Because this debate, it's just getting started. But here's where the conversation takes an even darker turn. Because what we've talked about so far, that's just the surface. The real story, the one nobody is saying out loud, is what happens if this goes wrong. Not just a loss, not just a bad game, but a collapse. Because when you build a roster like this, stacked with stars, packed with expectations, and designed to dominate, you don't get judged the same way as everyone else. You don't get the luxury of learning experiences. You don't get patience. You get one standard.
Win.
And if you don't, every decision gets questioned. Every name gets dissected. Every omission becomes a headline. And the first name people will bring up? Brittany Griner. Because if Team USA struggles to protect the rim, if opponents start attacking the paint without fear, if rebounds start slipping away in crucial moments, that decision will come back instantly. Loudly. Relentlessly. Why wasn't she on this team? And there won't be a quiet answer. There never is. But it doesn't stop there. Because this roster isn't just risky in the front court. It's volatile in the backcourt too. Too many creators. Too many players who are used to being the one. And in international basketball, that can either become your biggest strength or your biggest weakness. Take Caitlin Clark again. In the WNBA, she controls the pace. The offense flows through her. The ball is in her hands when decisions need to be made. But here, that role isn't guaranteed. Now she's sharing the floor with players who have done this longer. Players who have already won at this level. Players like Chelsea Gray. And that creates a question nobody can answer yet. Who really runs this team when it matters most? Is it the rising superstar or the proven veteran? Because that decision won't just affect one possession. It will shape the entire identity of this team. And identity matters. More than people think. Because when things get tough, and they will, teams fall back on who they are. If that identity isn't clear, that's when mistakes happen. That's when confusion creeps in. That's when games slip away. And make no mistake, the competition is ready for that. Teams like Spain and Australia don't care about hype. They don't care about headlines. They don't care how many stars are on the other side. They care about execution, discipline, consistency, and most importantly, exploiting weakness. They will test everything. They will attack mismatches. They will slow the game down, make it physical, force uncomfortable decisions. And they will wait. Wait for that one moment where communication breaks down, where two players hesitate, where one possession turns into a mistake. Because at this level, that's all it takes. One mistake, one missed rotation, one bad decision. And suddenly, everything changes. Now imagine that moment. Final minutes.
Score tied.
Crowd loud. Pressure at its peak. Who takes the shot? Is it Caitlin Clark from deep? Is it Kelsey Plum creating her own look? Is it Chelsea Gray controlling the tempo and finding the perfect pass? Or does the ball go inside to Aaliyah Boston, trusting her to finish through contact? There is no easy answer. And that's exactly the problem. Because great teams don't just have options. They have clarity. They know exactly where the ball is going before the play even starts. Does this team have that? Or will they have to figure it out in real time under pressure? And then there's something even bigger. Something that goes beyond basketball. Expectation. Because this isn't just any team. This is Team USA. And with that comes history. Dominance. A reputation that stretches across decades. Anything less than gold feels like failure. That's the standard. And that pressure doesn't disappear. It builds. Game by game. Possession by possession. Until it becomes something you can feel in every decision. For the veterans, it's familiar. They've carried it before. They understand how to handle it. But for the newcomers, this is different. This is heavier. This is the moment where talent meets reality. And not everyone handles that transition the same way. Some rise. Some hesitate. And some get exposed. That's the part nobody talks about. Because every roster like this has a turning point. A moment where everything either clicks or starts to fall apart. It might not happen early. It might not even be obvious at first. But when it comes, you'll see it. And when you do, you'll understand exactly what this team is. Not what it was supposed to be. Not what it looked like on paper.
But what it actually is.
Because in the end, that's all that matters. Not the hype. Not the debate. Not the arguments online. Just the result.
And right now,
this team exists in two different realities at the same time. In one version, they dominate. The talent overwhelms everyone. The chemistry clicks instantly. The risks pay off. And they walk away exactly how everyone expects them to. Champions. But in the other version, the cracks show. The pressure builds. The questions never get answered. And the one decision, the one everyone argued about from the start, becomes the reason everything falls apart. That's what makes this so fascinating. Because we don't know which version we're going to get. Not yet. But we're about to find out. And when we do, there won't be any more debates. Only the truth. And maybe that's the most uncomfortable truth of all. Because when this team finally steps onto the floor under the banner of USA Basketball, all the debates, all the arguments, all the what-if scenarios instantly disappear and get replaced by something much more brutal, reality. Because at that point it won't matter how loud the hype was around Caitlin Clark or how dominant Angel Reese looked in stretches or how reliable Kelsey Plum and Chelsea Gray have been in past moments. It will come down to execution in the exact seconds where everything tightens and every possession feels heavier than the last, where a single defensive lapse by Aaliyah Boston without a backup behind her could shift the entire balance of a game, where a rush shot instead of a patient possession could turn into a fast break the other way, where chemistry either shows up naturally or gets exposed under pressure, and where opponents who have studied every weakness will not hesitate to attack the one decision that defined this roster from the beginning, because this is the stage where reputations don't protect you and potential doesn't save you. Only cohesion does. Only trust does. Only the ability to sacrifice a personal moment for a winning one does. And if even one piece of that breaks, if the ball sticks too long in one player's hands, if communication slips on a switch, if frustration creeps in after a missed call or a bad stretch, the entire